Well, good morning and happy Sunday. It's a really nice day to start off. I'm Meteorologist Aaron Colby, and we'll be walking through today's forecast as well as a look at the week ahead. And we're going to just be discussing what's going on out in the tropics. Lots of buzz about Invest 97L on social media, so we'll take a close look at it and see what we actually know about this so far. So let's go ahead and dig straight into that. This is the Hancock Whitney camera over in Gulfport. Things look really nice out there. Partly to mostly clear skies across most of South Mississippi today. We could see a couple passing clouds, and for today, most of the shower and thunderstorm activity will remain offshore, mainly beyond the islands. So if you do have plans to be out on the water, just keep in mind that you may have to dodge a couple of spotty showers and storms. But as we go into the afternoon hours, and especially this evening, a few of those could try and work their way onto the coast. So we will have to keep a close eye out if you have evening plans. Maybe keep the umbrella nearby just in case a couple small showers or storms will be possible as you go through the evening hours. But out there right now, it is just after 9:05 a.m. and we are seeing temperatures already right at 80 degrees at the Gulfport Airport. Heat index values in the mid-80s. Overall, not that bad. A little bit less humid than the past couple of days, but you can see out there radar and satellite across the region. Lots of cloud cover just to our east, and you can see that's coming from many of these showers and storms that are pretty far offshore at the moment. For the most part, those are going to stay out there. Once again, beyond the islands is where most of that activity will be for the day today, exactly where it is right now. But at least some of these storms may try to work their way inland as we move into the overnight and late afternoon and evening hours, I should say. Here's that forecast for you. Of course, dependent on cloud cover and if those storms end up moving onshore earlier or later. Many of us should be right around 90 degrees as your high temperature this afternoon. At least some of us could make it into the lower 90s. Some spots maybe even all the way up into the mid 90s, depending on how much sunlight or how much daylight heating you can get, especially before many of these clouds start to move back in. But looking at rain chances for the next couple of days, well, they're going to stay fairly high. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we are watching a very weak tropical wave currently located over Florida, and that is going to very slowly introduce a lot more tropical moisture into the Gulf. That will allow for much higher rain chances, scattered to widespread showers and storms, especially as we get towards the front half of the week, mainly Monday night into Wednesday morning. Here's what the next couple days look like. This is just today and tomorrow on Futurecast, and you can see once again this version of Futurecast being very adamant that most of those storms will remain offshore, even most of them beyond the islands for most of the day today. And then we get into the late afternoon and evening hours, and you can see, especially over to our east, over in Florida and over in Alabama, some of these storms do start to work their way onto the coast and eventually start to spread out to the west. Some of them could make it into South Mississippi, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Let's go to tomorrow morning. Very similar setup. We do have most of those showers and storms offshore once again during the morning hours. But then we get into the midday and early afternoon hours, and tomorrow, Monday, being a little bit more likely that those actually do start to work their way further inland, especially during the afternoon hours. Going into Monday nights, there's that higher chance of catching some showers and storms. Of course, with that tropical air mass arriving, some of these could produce some very heavy rainfall, so we will be keeping an eye out for that, especially as we go into Monday and Tuesday. Now, let's look at this version of Futurecast. This goes a little bit further out, and it has paints a slightly different picture here, where we do have, once again, much higher rain chances. There's today, Sunday, maybe a few scattered showers and storms. Let's go to Monday, very similar to the other version we looked at, where Monday afternoon you can see quite a few spotty showers and storms move inland here in South Mississippi. Now let's keep going forward. Let's go to Tuesday. Very early in the morning on Tuesday, this is 2 o'clock in the morning, we have some coastal showers and storms that do start to fire up. And look how widespread this becomes. Heavy rain possible. Now, once again, that's that tropical air mass helping produce that much heavier rainfall, just like we have seen in the past here in South Mississippi. You can see, well, we may want to keep out for a flash flooding or a localized flooding risk from this, just because of the potential for that very heavy rainfall and some of it lasting for most of the day there on Tuesday. This is about 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday. Let's keep going a little bit further up, and you can kind of see, let's go back a little bit, that very broad rotation there. That's that tropical wave finally moving up into the northern Gulf, bringing a lot of that tropical moisture with it. And you can see at that time, this is now early Tuesday afternoon, showers and storms do become a lot more widespread across the region. Let's keep on going. We're going to go all the way to very early Wednesday morning, and that's 5 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. And that same air mass still hanging out nearby, and we can see several showers and storms start to flare up, especially along the coast, moving inland throughout the day. So Tuesday, Wednesday looking like the two rainiest of those days so far, but we'll of course have to keep things updated as we continue to learn more. Let's move over to the tropics, where we do have quite a few things to talk about. So we do have two different zones. They are both marked as invests. We have invest 96L there in the yellow, low chance of developments. That's why it's in yellow. And it's been dealing with a lot of very dry air. It's had a very hard time out in the Atlantic, but that's why, once again, very low chance of development there. Is going to continue to move up towards the north over the next couple of days. Now this red zone, this is invest 97L. And this has a very high chance of development over the next 2 to 7 days. National Hurricane Center has been keeping an eye on this one, and you may see quite a bit of buzz on social media. This is the one that everyone's been talking about. There's been lots of posts about this could be the first hurricane of the season. This could maybe make its way up into the U.S., but it is way too early to really fine-tune any of those details. But here's what we know for sure. 97L is a very well-defined tropical wave. It's definitely, at least on this satellite presentation here, does appear to be much more healthy and much more stronger than any of the other waves that we've seen so far. So that does make it a good candidate to develop fairly quickly and become the first tropical storm or hurricane to develop from these African tropical waves. And it's about the right time of the year for this to happen. As we move into mid-August, that section of the Atlantic does start to get a little bit more active. But just comparing it to the other wave in front of it, you can see 96L, well, it's not looking very healthy at all. You can see how separated it is. You can see even two separate areas of rotation associated with that. And let me get an arrow here to show exactly. Look at this. At the surface, there's that low pressure zone. That is where 96L is currently located. However, that's all the thunderstorm activity with it. It is lagging very far behind. It's dealing with a lot of wind shear. It's also dealing with a lot of dry air, which is why, in part, it's so separated. That's the wind shear. And then how dry it is on this side of the system. That's that dry air. So that's why it's a very low chance of development, not expected to really make it much longer. There is a slight chance that it does get into better conditions out in about a day or two, but as for the most part, this looks like it is no longer expected to develop. Now, here's the other tropical wave. This is 97L, and you can see quite the difference there. Much more healthy. It does have some of the characteristics that we look for a healthier system. You can see the arc clouds on this side. That's that very healthy inflow dragging in that much more humid air into the system. You have a very well-defined center here. You have areas where the wind kind of turns. Now, it's still an open wave. It's not necessarily a closed low in order to earn a name yet, but you have winds on this side moving kind of more up to the north, winds on this side moving back down towards the south, and that's a fairly healthy wave there. That's why it has a very high chance of development. It's going to be over the open Atlantic for the next several days. It's got plenty of time to try and get a little bit more organized. You can see it's currently expected to pass through the Cape Verde Islands here over about the next day or two. Once it gets to the other side of the islands, well, then conditions are very favorable for it to continue developing there. You can also see back behind it in the corner here another wave right behind that. Of course, it's that time of year. We have several tropical waves moving across the Atlantic. But here's what the models are doing with 97L at this time. Most of the models in pretty good agreement at this time that we do have this generally making its way through the Cape Verde Islands over the next day or two, and then eventually making that long trek across the Atlantic, generally to the north of the Greater Antilles. Now, of course, the further north this goes, that's great news for everyone, because that means it's more likely to get caught up in the high pressure system it'll stay weaker and then eventually turn back out to sea. But of course, it's way too early to really speculate any sort of track, any sort of maximum strength, anything like that. So this is going to be kind of a wait and see what happens. It will be moving across the mid-Atlantic along those models that you see there over about the next 10 days or more. So there's still a lot of time for us to learn more information. There's lots of time for the hurricane hunters to go ahead and start planning flights. There's also plenty of time to see if it's going to turn, what direction it's going to turn. So I wouldn't be too worried about this system at this time. It's definitely worth watching over the next several days, but I would like to say that this is a fairly low threat at this time to anyone in the U.S. or the Caribbean. I would not go ahead and start canceling plans or making plans for an approaching storm at this time yet. That's way too early for any of that. But we do like to keep watching those trends, and generally it does place the storm somewhere in this region by about August 15th through 18th. So generally to the north of the Greater Antilles over the next about 7 to 10 days is really all we know. And that is definitely good news for a lot of us because, well, the further north it goes, then once again, the more likely it will be caught up in that high pressure. It won't be able to strengthen as much, and it'll likely turn out back to sea. Of course, we will continue to see these tropical waves come off the coast of Africa. We are nearing that beginning of the peak of hurricane season, which does officially start August 15th. And you can see most of that activity is still ahead of us, especially in that region of the Atlantic that we are watching for more of those waves. Next name on the list is Aaron, and well, we'll continue to see. I like the trend so far. So far, all 4 tropical storms and almost all have been out to sea. Of course, we had Chantel make landfall in South Carolina, and Barry, which made landfall in Mexico. Now, looking ahead to this week, we do have a meteor shower that peaks. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be very hard to see very many of these meteors. We're coming off of a full moon just a few days ago, and the peak officially happens very early Tuesday morning. So the best way to try and view some of these meteors would be to move very far from city lights and very early in the morning, about midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning is going to be the best viewing time for some of these. So not the best time of year to see meteors, of course, with the full moon being very close by. 7-day forecast. Here's what that looks like. Things, well, a little bit rainy over the next couple of days, especially Monday through Wednesday. We'll be tracking that tropical moisture arriving here, and that brings the potential for those tropical downpours and scattered showers and storms across the region. The good news is that that keeps our temperature low during the afternoon hours. Lots of cloud cover, lots of rain will be very helpful in bringing temperatures back into the 80s during the afternoon hours. And looking a little bit further ahead towards the end of the week, temperatures will start to rise again as a much drier air mass arrives in the region.